All right, welcome everyone to Southern Apologetics. I'm your host Dustin, and today we're going to discuss the topic of when does life start. We're going to look at some of the philosophical, the theological, and the legal issues in our modern day society that says different views on it. And we're going to look at it through the lens of the Christian worldview. And So we're going to look at a few questions. When does human life begin? What is the moral status of the unborn? Is abortion ever morally justified? And how should Christians respond? So we're going to look at, first of all, we're going to look at the major positions on abortion, and then we're going to look at the pro-choice, the pro-life, and the moderate hybrid views, and then we'll look at the Christian. What's the biblical view as a Christian? What should we hold to? So first of all, we'll look at the main claim from the pro-choice abortion rights is a woman has a right to control her body. So that's one argument from the pro-choice side. And then the other is fetus is not fully human until later development or birth. And keep in mind the word fetus is a Latin word for small child. So fetus is not something that's different. It's just literally means small child. So a potential person, not an actual person, is what that argument would hold to. So now we'll move to a couple arguments on the pro-life or the anti-abortion side. And so life begins at conception. I would say biblically and scientifically, you can Google it or anything, and I don't know of anything that says life starts differently other than it starts at conception. So the other claim is the fetus is fully human with moral rights. So abortion is morally equivalent to murder. So let's look at the moderate hybrid view. So this view recognizes some moral status of the fetus, small child, but allow abortion in certain cases, rape, incest, life of the mother, things like that. So let's go to the biblical argument. So Psalm 139, 13 through 16 basically says God forms life in the womb. Luke 141, John the Baptist leaped in the womb, showing personhood. Exodus 21, 22 through 25, there was a penalty for causing harm to an unborn child. So biblically, the life in the womb is sacred and is treated as a full-on human. It's woven all throughout Scripture that the child is in the womb is a child. God said, "I knew you before you were even in your mother's womb." So that's the biblical view. Now let's look at the scientific side of it. So life begins at conception, DNA cell division and growth. You know, the child that is conceived has its own DNA, its own genetic coding, and so a fetus is biologically distinct from the mother. Viability, meaning survival outside the womb, is used as a benchmark by some, but it shifts with medical technology. Basically, it would be like some have tried to use the argument, well, it doesn't have a heartbeat yet, therefore it's not a human. Well, I mean, you could have patients in a coma status that's got certain functions of their body and then others are missing. You know, it doesn't mean that they're not a human. So anyways, and I want to add something on this topic while I'm on it. I know that I'm a male, and some of you will, you're not a woman, but engage with the arguments. Engage with the argument. don't start making personal attacks and stuff. It's unnecessary. Just deal with the argument. There's a lot of things that I've had to do throughout my life with my own body, and I didn't have a choice, and so it's irrelevant to make personal attacks. Uh, so looking at the legal history, Roe versus Wade, 1973, legalized abortion nationwide, and then later that was overturned. Dobbs versus Jackson in 2022, and so the states now determine if it's legal or not. Um, so look at some of the philosophical arguments here. Personhood criteria. Some would argue personhood begins with self-awareness, reasoning, or viability. But there's inconsistencies with his views, as I've kind of already touched on, uh, such as newborns and coma patients wouldn't qualify. So uh, the SLED test, from pro-life perspective, it goes. This is in a book I read one time. It's called the SLED test, and so the S means size. Size does not determine value. Just because something is small, it's missing a heartbeat, or you don't have any neural activity, the legs are shorter than a regular human, that doesn't make it any more or any less valuable. It's still a human. Level of development, unborn, still human. Uh, just because it's, maybe it's 3 weeks into conception, um, that doesn't determine the value of him or her. Environment, womb or world doesn't change moral status. It doesn't matter whether it's in the womb or outside the womb, it's still a human. It's no different than me walking in my house or outside of my house. I'm still a human. Degree of dependency. Dependent people are still valuable. I've listened to people make the argument on, well, um, it's my body, my choice. The fetus, small child, is reliant on me. Well, I mean, even after they're born, they're still reliant on you. You can't leave a 1-month-old by itself and expect it to survive. I mean, it's still reliant on the mother, and yet it's still considered a human, both ways. So from the Christian response to all this is you uphold the sanctity of life, combine truth with grace, avoid condemnation, support women facing unplanned pregnancies. I've listened to people that's been through this sort of stuff, and maybe it was an unwanted pregnancy, which, who determines that? But I've listened to people say, I mean, if you don't want the child, give birth to the child and then put him up for adoption rather than just downright murdering him. So promote alternatives like adoption, counseling, etc. I mean, there's ways that you can handle the situation if it's one of those tough situations. So a few takeaways here. The moral status of the fetus is central to the abortion debate. Scripture and science both affirm the value of unborn human life, and Christians must speak the truth with compassion and provide tangible support. And there's one other thing I wanted to add, and it still falls under abortion. Embryo stem cell research, where some of the stem cells from embryos are used to help people with like different diseases and stuff. That would still fall under abortion, with the embryo or whatever. So anyways, if you like this video, I got some more coming. We're going to look at some more moral issues from the Christian worldview and how they intertwine with today's modern controversies or whatever you want to call it. So anyways, like and subscribe, and stay tuned.